he had a lot of compassion for the soldiers. Whenever there were any changes to be made, he would first think, how would that impact the soldiers? Officers, of course, but he used to immediately look at it, how would it impact the soldiers? The interest of the soldiers, sailors, airmen comes first and always. So that was something which he never forgot. He was absolutely clear right about his basics.
What I remember of General Bipin was his extreme happiness when he was with the troops. He was extremely happy. He loved dancing with them. He spoke Nepali flawlessly. And the sight of a Gurkha soldier would instantly get a smile on his face. We were together in so many places, like I said. He would be the first to join in any party. If Nepali songs were being sung, or based on the Nepali song, we would start dancing. General Bipin would immediately start dancing too.
He was a great soldier, led from the front always, a gentleman, a leader of great repute. The CDS, the Chief of the First Chief of Defence Staff of the Indian Armed Forces, an intellect. He always thought ahead and worked for the nation, for the armed forces, a single-mindedness.
Who was chosen to be the first CDS for his strategic vision, professional outlook and efficiency.
A human element to him, there was a professional element to him, and there was a soldier element to him, which he is known for his bravery, both in anti-terrorist operations as well as on the LC front, where he also got a sharpener.
He was an exceptionally brave officer who led his troops right from the front and distinguished himself in operational areas. As we grew up in service, I found General Bipin Rawat growing up in stature and intellect. He could be relied upon to carry out the most difficult of operational tasks.
When I was posted in as the AOC of Eastern Command and he was commanding 3 Corps, his bold actions in attacking NSCN-K insurgents across the border were both bold and well calibrated. We also had common grounds in building infrastructure in the Northeast and making robust operational plans against the northern adversary. His assistance in preemptive attack on militant bases across the LOC on 29 September 2016 as a reaction to terrorist attack in Uri when he was the Vice Chief was a paradigm shift in our thinking. He was always thinking of ways to make the task and organization more efficient. He had audacious ideas and was determined to follow it up. He was full of life and managed to take on almost all commitments. Hats off to his attitude and time management.
He would tell me, we talked about the Northeast, which he knew was very close to my heart. And he promised that, he would again bring me back because I didn't want to stay in Kohima. I had finished 2 years. But he said, no, you're too valuable an asset to leave just like that. And I would definitely need you back in the Northeast to help out in the integration process. He himself is very close to the Northeast.
I knew because of his stellar qualities as a staff officer, which is what was required in that particular appointment. Later as the army chief, many times a call was received from him asking for pieces of advice. He had no compulsion to seek any advice from any of his seniors who he had served with earlier, but it was his character that he believed in consultation and came back to his seniors to ask for their opinion.
General Rawat was a great soldier, a gentleman, and a thorough professional. He had total clarity of thought, and wherever required, he never hesitated to seek inputs from his teammates, from his subordinates, and even from veterans.
At the time of my departure, he met me one-on-one, and his words I will never forget in my life. He said, "Sir, Last 18 months have been great experience in learning. Allow me to keep in communication with you even after you retire, which he did till the end.
More than large, was here a military leader who not only a visionary, but a bold and a brave soldier, who had the ability to think strategically, ability to transform from a strategic plane to a tactical outcome. I think that acumen was something which was most outstanding. Plus, the ability to take hard decisions under trying circumstances and then giving it a very definitive timelines and roadmap of execution. I think that speaks very well of his leadership qualities.
Another incident that I really remember very fondly is when I told him about the difficulties faced by healthcare workers in long hours in PPE without telling anyone. Him and late Brigadier Liddar both got into PPEs and visited the Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel Hospital, and no one recognized them. When I asked him, "Sir, why did you not tell us?" He said, "I did not want to disturb the doctors when they were working. I just wanted to see them and kamal hai, kya kaam kar rahe hai." I mean, these were his encouraging words.
The one thing that I always struck me about General Bipin was his extreme professionalism, very, very good at his job, excellent decision making, and very clear about how he would develop himself.
He had the capacity to think beyond the routine and give shape to his thought process with clarity.
He was quick at decision making and having a clear timeline for what he wanted to achieve. He set about doing things with a lot of gusto and energy. Well aware that he would not be able to please everyone, he took criticism in his stride and was very clear about what he wanted to achieve.
We gave him a structure of CDS which he asked us. It took us 1 month of deliberation and we told him, this is how your team and your structure will be. He had stamina to reform the armed forces. It was as if in a hurry to reform these armed forces. Yes, he had 3 years, which was a big time because he was an army general also, chief also for 3 years. But daily he would go through presentations, discussions and meetings, and still there was nothing pending at his time.
He was a bold general and spoke his mind forthrightly and without mincing his words, for which he came under criticism at a number of times, but that did not deter him from pursuing the path of growth and development as far as the Indian armed forces were concerned.
You require a bold and a determined commander, which he was, to undertake the massive time-bound restructuring of the armed forces. He wanted to achieve so much in so little time that he had as a CDS. He will always be remembered as a leader on a mission who took criticism in his stride, remained unstoppable in his pursuits, and who had the vision to think and achieve big.
He was different in many ways, and that's what came out in his thinking also. People say that he used to speak off his hat. That is just not true. Just not true. He thought on everything. He gave it the detailed analysis. Anything may look that it was impromptu and spoken just off the cuff, but that's not true for Bipin Rawat. He thought it on.
He was a man of great vision, but that vision was always rooted in reality and practicality. He was a man of action, resoluteness, and go-getter. It was very often said that once he made up his mind, he seldom listened to his subordinates. But I would like to respectfully disagree. He always gave a chance to the subordinates to express their views. In both my assignments, I got a full chance to share my views with him, even where I disagreed. And once he saw the light of issue being made, he always used to concede the point.
He always came well prepared for various meetings. He was very quick in giving decisions, and I think that he was able to achieve because he had total clarity of thought on various issues.
Be it any issue about the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Bipin will discuss it right down to the last detail unless he understood how exactly it is done on ground. A new idea could not convince him, but he felt that the person putting up that point, he had sound reasoning, he would always give him the credit.
He was outspoken and was never afraid of speaking his mind on any national or international subject, even with politicians or service chiefs. He was a fighter and a great nationalist.
Who was chosen to be the first CDS for his strategic vision, professional outlook and efficiency.
General Bipin Rawat was a person with original ideas, and he was ready to push them with his unique blend of firmness and conviction. His conviction was derived from his understanding of the larger nuances of the changes he was seeking and driving.
On each one of these issues, he came firmly, strongly, whether it was the IBG concept on the Western Front or the rebalancing which has been subsequently carried out on the Chinese front, or his thought process on modernization of the armed forces or the theatre commands. In each and every issue, he gave a deliberate thought. He consulted people. He got sounding boards to discuss issues, and then he came across to what he wanted to say.
He had very soft corner for medical fraternity. I still remember his firm, logical, transparent and fair decisions during conduct of promotion boards and other matters of Army Medical Corps.
Whatever you heard about him in the profession, when you're young, you're very keen to hear about your colleagues, how is who doing in what course, where. He always exhibited excellence. And tell you of incident, he had to go to the defense minister, Mr. Manohar Parikar. And instead of the QMG, who was my boss, he said, you come along, you will know more details about this. As we sat down, the defense minister looked at him and he said, Bipin, he said, no, he didn't call him by first name. He said, I wanted to talk to you about something confidential, and he looked at me that he is also sitting there. He said, sir, there is nothing to worry, please speak the confidential. That's the kind of respect he had for a colleague, comrade and a friend. Even as a CDS, a number of people have written, and either I know about it, he left office in the evening at 8, 9, because he never said no to meeting anyone. And he was very committed to his job. He was very committed to innovation. He did not mind taking risks, and he would not mind annoying a few friends if it was for the organizational good. Professional and materialistic integrity is something which he epitomized, and which is something which makes you feel great about a friend.
I don't remember ever feeling, in fact, often people ask me, as the only woman on, and the powers, the corridors of power, how did it feel? But I don't think he ever addressed me as a woman, and ever I felt in any way as a woman. It was always, you have to do this, can you do this? And it was done. So at every moment. But in those times, besides taking decisions, I was very touched by his ability to think in a very humane way. I remember him telling me, this is the time the country needs to also be told what we are doing and reassured. So go out and do this. And I was there on so many of those TV programs.
General Bipin Rawat was an exceptional leader with a great vision, and his thought process as the Chief of Defence Staff was in tune with the vision for the Indian Armed Forces.
Had the good fortune of going for our foreign country tour together, and General Bipin there once again I saw his ability to interact with the foreign armies, his ability to to be clear about how he sets his goals were always something that I have taken to heart and to understand how good he actually was.
He has performed exceptionally well in every environment, including as a force commander in Congo. General Rawat lived by very high moral values and military ethos. He had high integrity and very high honesty.
The tribals and other people who live very close to the land of actual control have somehow lived in isolation.
Correct.
And some of these people have actually started now coming down to the plains for better pastures, or for better job opportunities.
Yes.
I think it is high time that we start developing our infrastructure, not just for benefiting the military, but also for the sake of our people.
Based on his ability to work very hard, his understanding of things, General Bipin got appointments that were commensurate with his professionalism, and he joined the military operations director.
When I became the military advisor, and then he was appointed by the government as the CDS, and I realized that there he had stepped into a domain which was much beyond the armed forces. Now he was a part of the government where he was looking at the national security. The national security is much beyond the physical territory security. He was now looking at many domains of security and not at something which is to be done today. Because what is to be done today is being done by the chiefs of the three armed forces. But he was looking much beyond. He was looking at issues where various domains of security, whether it is economic security, whether it is the environmental security, water security, energy security, intellectual security, information security, and we could see the way his mind was working, and I think he proved to be one of the leading advisors in matters of security to the apex leadership of this country.
Bipin, wherever he served, be it Arunachal Pradesh, northeastern states or Jain, totally believed in civil-military cooperation and developmental work. The developmental work that he has completed in those areas stand testimony to this. His eye for detail professionally was fantastic. That is how then Raksha Mantri Parikar involved him in planning and execution of surgical strike at all stages.
When he had to do offensive actions, when he was commanding 3 Corps in Dimapur, they had to do an operation across in Myanmar. He was bold commander. He was also a bold commander when he was a vice chief of army staff, and he carried out and the surgical strikes were carried out against a line of control.
Ability to take decisions, whether he looked at the Myanmar surgical strike or during his course of vice chief and chief, how he dealt with situations both on the Chinese front and on the Western front as well.
He initiated the BIMSTEC military exercises and chiefs conference to face together the common challenges by countering terrorism and managing natural disasters.
As a chief of army staff, he handled the China front, the Pakistan front, and the situation in Northeast and G&K brilliantly. He carried out reorganization, reforms, integrations, and emphasized on self-reliance as the Chief of Defence Staff.
He kept the interest of the nation first always and every time. Actions such as surgical strikes against Pakistan, against the militants across the Myanmar border, and his resolute action post the Galwan incident along the northern front as far as China was concerned were some of the sterling examples of his boldness.
A quintessential military commander, General Bipin Rawat possessed an uncanny understanding of geopolitical upheavals calibrated a tri-service military doctrine to make India face security challenges, and is largely credited with bringing down militancy in Northeast and Jammu and Kashmir.
We had planned great things for the Indian Armed Forces, and great changes were in the offing.
The idea of the integrated armed forces, which has its origin in Indo-Pak War of 1971. The Kargil episode only reinforced the idea. And General Rawat, as the CDS, had the courage to push the issue towards its rightful conclusion. There were many other such strategic and operational issues that he wished to pursue.
The CDS was expected to achieve what was extensively debated for many decades, but was not actually attempted to put in practice. It was indeed a tall order, achieving the kind of integration between the services that was expected, even while finalizing the structure for theatre commands. And if that was not enough, he also had to oversee the formation and the functioning of the BMA, a fledgling organization whose formation surprised everyone.
He laid down the bedrock for the integration of the three services, and we're looking forward to the theatrization that he has started, the process of theatrization that he has started.
He initiated the much needed integration of the armed forces to take on challenges of hybrid warfare as the mainstay of national security.
I do feel that General Rawat had a very challenging task to carry everyone along. The Army, Air Force, Navy, other elements of national power, other security forces, and he did exceedingly well. He was willing to do anything for the national security and a comprehensive national security, always looking ahead. Defense preparedness was his priority, modernization was his priority, integration was his priority, jointness was his priority. He wanted to enhance the combat effectiveness of the Indian Army and transform the Indian Army from a military power.
I used to meet General Rawat on daily basis to brief him on the progress of various issues and also to seek his guidance and views on various other important issues. His main focus was on the integration of defense forces. In fact, this was one of his main mandate. Lot of work was done during his watch on theatrization, and a number of meetings were held and chaired by him to achieve consensus amongst the three services.
In any military, in any country, has not been easy. The Army, the Navy and the Air Force are equal services, very proud of themselves, and tend to guard their turf. But Bipin had the quality to convince all of them, to persuade them, and if need be, to push them.
His characteristic strengths has been, being a pusher, a quick decision maker, a bold decision maker, and of course, involving himself with all the parties concerned. And one must admire the speed with which he set about setting up the entire institution. He was wearing multiple hats, not only as the chairman of the Chief of Staff Committee, permanent chairman of the Chief of Staff Committee, but also as the Secretary of Department of Military Affairs, and providing the advice to the government of Chief Minister.
Bipin's rich experience and knowledge, his passion about development of true indigenous capability, synergization of the three services in true sense, were a boon to the nation.
He was an effective link between the political leadership and the armed forces. He was not only a military leader, but also played a very important role in extending his acumen and experience and the wisdom in military diplomacy towards improvement of our relationship in the neighborhood.
As far as the civil-military relations are concerned, he was a strong pivot.
It was indeed a challenging task to set up the Department of Military Affairs to be the single point advisor to the government on military matters and to bring in synergy in operations among the services. It was indeed a tough task, and he did it well. Considering that the Chinese were pushing at our borders, COVID-19 had adversely affected the working modalities and the economy.
General Rawat will be remembered by the nation as an astute leader, a visionary who was steering the vision of the Prime Minister to strengthen our country in all respects.
Passing away of General Bipin Rawat, the country had lost an outstanding soldier and an exceptional and distinguished military leader. We deeply mourn the passing away of General Bipin Rawat, Srimati Madhulika Rawat, and 11 other defense personnel who lost their lives in the tragic incident. The loss of precious lives is indeed painful and unfortunate.
It's a great loss to the nation, it's a great loss to humanity, it's a great loss to India, really, and the army, the armed forces in particular, an officer of such great dedication, of such great worth, and who had, to my mind, much more to contribute even in the future. Having achieved the appointment of Army Chief and that of the first ever Chief of the Defence Staff, this was not the end, he would achieve much more before. But God had other things in terms of destiny for him and his strength.
He's one of the longest serving soldiers in armed forces, as his contributions are one too many to spell out in a short video. It's just to pay homages. His achievements are again hats off to him.
I salute General Rawat for his vision, for his leadership, and for his sacrifice, what he made for the country.
There has been a national loss. I'm sure the government will find the CDS as capable as him, but I only hope that he is as passionate about his job as Bipin Rawat was.
An extremely competent military officer who in his 43 years of long career reached the pinnacle of his profession as a Chief of Army Staff and then first CDS.
8th of December was indeed a very sad day for the nation, for the armed forces, and late General Bipin's course-mates. India is losing her first CDS along with his wife and other officers and men was indeed very shocking.
He was literally irreplaceable. The fact that the government has not been able to select the Chief of Defence Staff is actually it's clear that how good Bipin was actually, and why it's so difficult for the government to actually get a second Chief of Defence Staff who would be able to do what General Bipin has done.
His going away is a very, very big loss for us as friends, for us as family, and as postmates, as Indian Army, and even the country. I don't think anyone else could have taken up challenges of theaterization and tri-service unity the way he took. And it's a massive loss to the country. No wonder there's nobody whom they've been able to find as a replacement as yet.
I salute General Rawat for his integrity and his focus. Under his guidance, IDS was able to achieve a lot very quickly and to finalize a number of policies. I do hope the armed forces will carry forward his legacy and achieve the kind of transformation that he had visualized and initiated.
Accordingly, the nation felt that he was the right person who could deliver and steer the destiny of armed forces in sync with national aspirations.
He carried out his task as a mission and with great zeal and enthusiasm. And had these reforms been executed during his time, the Indian Army would have been a different force altogether.
I am sure the hierarchy which is now assuming his responsibilities will see all his plans through.
General Rawat will always be remembered for the honor he brought to the office of Chief of Defence Staff, having been selected as the first Chief of Defence Staff for the country. This has a history of 20 years of deliberations before choosing the CPS. In this loss, the country has lost an immensely experienced professional and a leader who provided immense strength to the country.
He was given strict and maybe unrealistic timelines by the government, and he was doing his best to achieve all the milestones minute to minute. And I can dare say that if he had stayed till the end of his tenure, he would have achieved all of them and would have created history, but unfortunately that was not to be.
The ultimate leader who actually met the requirement of the time and the emerging threat, and he consolidated the position of the armed forces in order to bring in coherence, harmony, integration.
And here was a man who left us all in his boots, true to his style of living, dreaming, and always pursuing his career with nation above all and mission first.
There were many occasions when I used to wonder, how does he have this kind of a stamina where he meets so many people, he spends hours and hours together thinking of the nation, thinking of the armed forces, thinking of the army. And that is the reason when I would say his last journey to Brar Square from his house, that his and Mrs. Rawat's mortal remains were going, you must be aware that there were young boys who ran the entire distance from his house to Brar Square.
I think what he really stood for is a unity in diversity. Our country is that, and he looked forward to the tri-services working together as an integrated force.
His demise indeed is a great loss to India and the Indian Armed Forces. His understanding of the altering geopolitical dynamics and shaping the armed forces accordingly will be missed, but I'm sure the legacy will continue.
It's just a great loss for me personally, for my wife, and for the Indian Army. General Bipin had greatness stamped over him, and we were looking at him to lead us in the future too. My deepest condolences to his two daughters, whom we know personally. They've lost a father and a mother together. And I pray that General Bipin and Mrs. Madhu Rawat rest in peace.
May General Rao die, Madhu Bhauzu, and their others that lost their lives in an unwarranted helicopter accident souls rest in peace. My deepest sympathies and prayers go out to the family members. May God give the peace that they seek. Thank you.
I really wish and pray the children get all the strength to bear this loss. We've been meeting the girls. They are very, very matured girls, and it's very, very sad departure. And I'm sure their souls will rest in peace.
The loss has been too premature and very sudden. It is still quite unbelievable. One does feel that they have just gone off to a foreign visit and are likely to reappear very soon. However, that shall not be. I pay my humble condolences to the family and pray to the God that may He grant eternal peace to the departed souls, and may they continue to inspire us to follow the chosen path.
I pay my homage and respects to General Bipin Rawat. Sure, his successors would definitely take whatever he started, take it to a logical conclusion. I thank Diplomacy Direct for this initiative. Thank you very much. Homage again to General Bipin Rawat. Jai Hind.
My heart goes out to his daughters and extended family in their hour of grief. Shri Vipul Tamne, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to pay tributes to my dear coastmate, late General Bipin Rawat.
Today, I extend deepest of condolences for the unfortunate and untimely demise of General Bipin Rawat.
May his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace, and may all the people who perished by him, their souls rest in peace. And may their families, may God give them the strength to bear this huge loss.
Also, pay my heartfelt condolences and respect to all those precious 12 other lives that were lost in this tragic accident.
And the others who were a part of General Rawat's team, Brigadier Liddar. Mrs. Liddar has been a person who has displayed the kind of courage which every military officer's wife does display. There are others also, but in no way is their sacrifice less than anybody else. Pay our homage to all of them and also give courage to the family members who are here. And as it is said, armed forces are a very big extended family. So we are all together with them.
God had other things in terms of destiny for him, and it's very, very deep regret that I offer my condolences to the nation, to his family.
We have lost a great general, leader, and I agree that he was the best that could be there.
The country will miss him. He has left a legacy and shoes difficult to fill. My respects to him.
To greatest soldier, General Bipin Rawat, and welfare-oriented Royal Lady, Mrs. Madhurya Rawat.
I pay my respectful homage to General Bipin Rawat. The untimely demise of General Rawat is a great tragedy for the country and for our army. We have lost a great leader, a visionary, and a great military strategist. We will miss him.
The armed forces are certainly going to miss General and Mrs. Rawat.
Bipin and Madhurika will remain in our memory forever. God bless them.
It's a real loss to the nation, loss to the armed forces, but a personal loss to me and General Kanitkar, as the couple was extremely warm and wonderful.
My salute to the great soldier, General Bipin Rawat. We are going to miss him as he has left a vacuum which is difficult to be filled.
General Bipin Rawat and Mrs. Rawat, wherever you are, we are going to miss you.
It was very heartbreaking to see the images. So I'm sure God will be kind to the family and give them all the peace. That's it. Long live his memories for the Indian Army.
And there is a large, elaborate charter left out for his successors to follow subsequent. I'll miss him. I miss him every day. He was a great soul, great friend to have all through my service career. I miss Bipin. I miss Madhu. We wish them well wherever they are. I'm sure they will be watching the children and all of us with benevolence. And thank you, Bipin, for what you have done to the organization, the army, the armed forces, and for the nation. Thank you.
I salute General Rawat for his vision, for his leadership, and for his sacrifice, what he made for the country.
I pray to God to give eternal peace to this noble soul and his wife. They were one of the most distinguished personalities of our larger, greater family, the Indian Armed Forces.
He is going to be remembered as the first Chief of Defence Staff, a great human being, and a stupendous leader.
Emphasized on code of conduct, ethics and the morals, a soldier's general known for strength, stamina and self-sacrifice.
I found him to be confident, well composed and having excellent cognitive skills. And why not? The family has been doing a yeoman service by serving in the army for generations. Therefore, national security was in his veins.
He was a great visionary, forthright, focused, committed, and soldier with integrity of highest order.
We were lucky to have General Bipin Rawat being selected as the chief and subsequently as the CDS.
What must be remembered is the immense experience, leadership qualities, and the wealth of, knowledge and push that he brought his role as the first CDS. He had enormous challenges ahead of him, not only in carrying out the tasks assigned to him by the government with a sense of urgency, but more importantly, to leave behind a legacy of being the first CDS for his successors to carry forward in a strong traditions, with strong traditions and a significant base.
And I hope that we can all continue to abide by the same principles with which he worked. The dedication to the nation, his patriotism and sense of nationalism for the nation is what I would hope from everyone.
So he is a great soldier. I think we need to carry his legacy forward. Whatever is left behind, unfinished agendas like the Integrated Theatre Commands and many others, the defense preparedness, the operational readiness, the operational effectiveness of armed forces, we owe him a lot, and we owe him this, that we take it to its logical conclusion as he would have liked to.
Nothing would be more befitting as a tribute to his legacy than by his successors to take the various issues initiated by him in national interest to the stage of their successful implementation.
But I found him to be extremely bold, at the same time balanced.
His legacy would be the contribution to nation building and in modifying the organization and the working environment. No wonder today the nation has honored him with the Padma Vibhushan.
Rawat was one of his kind, a leader of it, military leader of its kind. That is why when he passed away, there was mass outpouring in the nation. We went to Haridwar for the immersion of ashes. There were people lined across on the streets. Why? Because they were the difference. Bipin Rawat was a different military leader, a man of great intelligence, great hard work. There is immense amount of forethought he gave into it. He had a vision of his own.
His heart used to beat for the nation. And that is the reason when I would say his last journey to Brar Square from his house, that his and Mrs. Rawat's mortal remains were going, you must be aware that there were young boys who ran the entire distance from his house to Brar Square. It's a tribute to the great acknowledgement that the nation has given him.
I would say he was one who epitomized the 5 C's: character, competence, commitment, courage, and compassion. Externally, very, I would say, hard, but internally very soft, and what a lovely human being.
I'm really grateful to Diplomacy Direct for taking this initiative of compiling all our personal thoughts and wishes for General and Mrs. Rawat. There can't be a better way of paying homage to the great leader and the couple. Jai Hind.
Hello, I'm Vipul Tamne, the Editor-in-Chief,
If you like the video that we presented, please like and subscribe our channel. So I guess today's session brought to you a bit more about General Rawat's life and the way he lived. Let us all live by the example set by him and the virtues that he embodied. With our sincere devotion to the departed soul, General Bipin Rawat, Mrs. Rawat and all the other martyrs in the tragic accident, we pay our sincere homage. Jain.